This week's scenario is incoming. It does not have the kill box artifice in effect and consists of two zones, one friendly zone that can be dominated for 1 CP, and an enemy zone that can be controlled for 1 CP and dominated for 2 CPs. Each player has a friendly objective which can be destroyed by your opponent for 1 CP. The objectives consist of defense 5, armor 18, and 15 health boxes and have firepower. While the objective is not contested by an enemy model, ranged weapons with light artillery rule within 4 inches of this model gain boosted damage rolls.
Hello, this is Onimaru. I'm going to be playing P-Vlad today. It's a tier 1 list. It's got Draigo, 5 Berserkers, Maurader, a Spriggan, and a unit of Great Bears. No dog in this list or any mechanics. I just couldn't find the points for him today. I really like P-Vlad. He got me interested into Warmachine Hordes. And this list, I just love the 5-point mass Berserkers. It really does cause issues for my opponents usually.
Alright. For today's game, I decided to do something a little funny. I decided to go with a crash of rhinos. So that starts out with Xerxis on his rhino, 3 Rhinodons in his battle group with an Archidon that's bonded, then Tyrant Zaadesh, his 2 Rhinodons, and then 2 min units of beast handlers, because that's a lot of fury on the table. So need to keep them all in order. Then 2 Willbreakers, because, 5 Fury isn't going to go very far, and a Soulward Extoller.
I wanted to centralize Vlad in my deployment to get maximum use out of signs important. Plus, I thought of maybe possibly using the wall and the objective as cover for Vlad. I wanted to put. I ended up putting 3 Berserkers to try to contest the top zone and take it. I also put a Berserker in the center to block line of sight to Vlad and also be able to move into either zone as needed. And I put the other 4 Jacks at the bottom. And the Great Bears at the bottom that you can't see out of line of sight as a flanking unit.
Alright, deployment was pretty easy. Pre-deployment for Xerxes was center, or mostly center of the board. Then his battle group, I kind of kept his battle group right next to him. So that way I could, make sure they're stay in check. Then to help go for the other zone, I put Zaadesh in his battle group, more that direction. Then all the support pieces, the Willbreakers, the Beast Handlers, the Extoller, all of them kind of went into a back line or a secondary row to allow them to also keep up with the rest of the battle group. Or the battle groups, because it's Zaadesh being in there. And I put 1 unit on one side to help with Zaadesh, the other unit of Beast Handlers on the side with Xerxes in his battle group.
For the first turn, I allocate 1 focus to the Spriggan and the Maurader. I run 4 Berserkers to the top right section of the board. And the other 4 Jacks, I run to the other section of the board. I also run the Great Bears as far as possible this turn, knowing that he doesn't have any ranged threats. Same with Vlad. I don't cast Blooded Kings. There's no need for Signs of Importance this turn. so I run him pretty far up the board. I normally wouldn't do this tactic, but knowing my opponent's army, that he doesn't have any valid long-range threat, I could do it this turn.
Okay, as with most turn ones, it's just pretty much going to be a bunch of running, getting up into position, making sure Fury is there. So I started with Zaadesh's battle group. They ran and riled and riled and ran, because when Zaadesh activated, he advanced and did 3 for tag team. It seems to be a very signature spell for him, and his beasts actually have enough Fury to replenish that. Xerxis activates. I use mobility because, well, who doesn't like a speed 7 Rhinodon or a speed 9 Archidon advancing up the table that way? So then, I'm trying to figure out how far up the table do I want to actually move how far up I want to move Xerxis. So I use mobility to my advantage because I figure I should be out of his feet range. Because once his jacks get double the speed, for his feet, should be okay. But just to make sure, I do block him with a 1 Rhinodon, and then a 2nd Rhinodon because, well, what's better than 1 than 2? Third one, I end up just advancing him up the hill to keep him out of the way, and hopefully, go after the Great Bears if they come in. Archidon just comes up behind to stay safe because he is the bonded one. Beast Handlers advance. The Extoller advances. The Willbreaker, the other unit of Beast Handlers advance, and then the Willbreaker advances just to keep behind the 1 beast.
So I begin turn 2 by allocating 1 focus to the Spriggan and 1 to the Maurader. I run 2 Berserkers up in the top zone, and then I run a 3rd to the hill. I wanted to use them as a counter charge in case, not in case, I know that I'm going to get charged next turn, but to be able to counter charge whatever Rhinodon's attack. I move Vlad back, realizing that I might have been a little too careless with him. And then I cast Signs of Portents, because I thought I might try to get an alpha strike off here. Kind of forgetting my plan of using my Great Bears as a flanking unit, so I declare a charge with the Great Bears. We want to make sure, the distance looks pretty long, so we want to make sure everything was right. I'm able to get in with 1 Great Bear, and then when I go to measure the 2nd Great Bear, he's just a little short. So I run them up base to base so they get an armor bonus. And I run the 3rd one, the one that grants steady, into the back of the zone. I start rolling. Here I forget that the Great Bears can allocate to which part of the beast they hit, so I quickly pick up my dice. I'm going after the Spirit. I do really good in the first hit, and on the second hit, not as good, kind of balanced out. But I did hurt him pretty good. After that, I start to run the rest of my jacks up. Run Draigo up to try to block line of sight to Vlad. I run the next Berserker up just outside the zone. I can't get him in. I realize at this point that I've just given my opponent 1 control point next turn. All I got is 3 Great Bears in the zone, and I'm pretty sure he's going to have no problem clearing those 3 Great Bears out and getting a control point. So I just start moving up my jacks, which I don't really realize is that I'm setting up little holes for him to charge into.
Alright, downside to Rhinodons, they do have light armor, they're lower defense, so any weapon masters that come at them are going to put some hurt on them. As you could tell by the fact that the one Rhinodon has no more spirit left. So now I gotta figure out how to get rid of the Great Bears, how to get them out of my way, and how to keep those Berserkers, and especially the Spriggan, from hitting me in the face. So now it's a plan. Activate the the Beast Handlers first, or the white unit of Beast Handlers. I am going to enrage the Rhinodon and the Archidon, and then I heal the brown Rhinodon for a point. Lucky dice rolls, a single point. But it gets his spirit back, and that's what matters. The Willbreaker advances. He then puts Puppet Master on the gray Rhinodon, because I figure it's going to need it. So now he activates and he charges. He does charge for free because of Enrage. I spend 1 to put his Animus of a Muck on him, so I get the additional die on rolling to hit, and I Thresher. I was lucky enough to position myself close enough that I did not hit my own guy. So I ended up hitting one guy and I boost the damage. He does not tough. Unfortunately, I forgot about puppet strings, so I bought another attack boosted and was able to kill him without him making any tough check. If I would have remembered Puppet Master, I would have actually re-rolled it to hit and potentially could have killed him without having to get so much fury put on that one Rhinodon. Now it's a decision, who goes after what? Because I do need to make sure that I kill things that may come in and threaten me, because that is a lot of Berserkers coming my direction. And one-on-one, I think the Berserkers could probably wipe out a Rhinodon fairly easy. So it's one of those things where I have to be the one to make the Alpha Strike on this. So the other unit of Beast Handlers activate. They enrage the one Rhinodon in the closest zone at the top. And they also, I think I put them just out of range to for enraging the other one at the very top of the screen in Zaadesh's battle group. But I end up charging Draigo way in the back because, well, I had the distance and there was a gap, so I was able to make it all the way through. I once again do a Muck and Thresher, so I hit all of them. And now it's just a matter of rolling out the damage, hoping I can do enough. I don't think I'd actually do enough, but any points that I can take off them is a help. So, yeah. And once again, I forget about Puppet Strings, Puppet Master. And this is where I have to learn what abilities I put on my beasts, so that way I can do re-rolls. Which I did remember at the very final, but it wasn't enough. It actually was lower damage than what was originally there. But you live and learn. So the final one's going to activate, the more damaged one. He's going to activate and he's going to charge, he's going to basically charge the Spriggan. He's going to get in. He's going to do one for his Animus of a Muck. After one for charging, one for a Muck. I roll all the hits. And now to see what all the damage is, I do just a few points to the Spriggan. Then to the Berserker, I do next to nothing. And then on the Great Bear, I boost, because if I can kill all three in a single go, that's pretty good for me. And that's what I'm able to do. So now I've cleared the zone of all of his models, because the one Berserker was not able to get in to contest. So all I have to do is play smart, move my caster in just an inch or two, and I get to score some points. But first, I'm going to go to the other flank. I run one Rhinodon to block in the Berserker. My initial thought was to actually to charge the second one in to the same Berserker, so that way I get the tag team. But then I saw that Berserker way out there on the end, and I figured, nope, that's going to hurt if he hits me. So he activates and he ends up charging. And he actually ends up failing. I thought I had the distance, but I didn't. And because I didn't have the distance, I forgot to rile. So I have 1 point on the one that ran, and nothing on Zaadesh. So yeah, this is going to be fun. Oh, another point. Zaadesh attempted to do Perdition and failed. That is why he's sitting with no Fury right now. So now I grab Xerxis, I move him forward. Once I put mobility up and Lightning Strike. Lightning Strike I put up, I guess more of just to remind myself for later turns that I could do it. Now I activate the Archidon, who's enraged, so he charges for free. He charges the one Berserker that's right there in the middle. I boost it to hit. I get a crit hit, which for the Archidon means a crit pitch. Means I get to throw him. So I'm going to throw him in a line that takes him as close to going towards Vlad as I can. But unfortunately, he hits Draigo's base. So now we got to see where it scatters to from there. And this is where we have our big long discussion as to who it hits first. The line would not have actually crossed over the Rhinodon, but it does barely clip Draigo. So that's where we end up putting it. It's like that. And then we measure off the deviation to the 3, no more than 5, whatever 4 inches or 3 inches or whatever the distance is. I forget exactly what the distance is. But he does end up clipping the Spriggan and thankfully knocking them both down. Good for me, not so good for my opponent. Hopefully I can put some more damage on that one Berserker. If I was thinking about it, I wouldn't have pitched. I would have actually just ended up just putting putting more damage into it. But I already have plenty of fear on the table because I didn't pull any more off my caster. So now it's I guess it's a good thing I didn't do it. So all the rest of the people do their activations, and I take the Extoller because I don't know how close the Maurader is, who would really hurt my caster.
So on turn 3, I didn't lose as many beasts or jacks as I thought I would to all those Rhinodons charging. But I'm also not happy that I kind of sacrificed my Great Bears for no real gain. So right now I know I'm going to feed on this turn. I'm just trying to decide where I need to allocate the 3 focus. I'm trying to decide, should I give do I want the Spriggan and the Berserker stand up, or just the Spriggan? The knockdown Berserker has lost one of his arms. He's taken a decent amount of damage. The dead center Berserker also took some damage. He lost one of his arms. Draigo took a fair chunk, but he kind of spread the damage out, so he's still good. So I decide to allocate 2 focus to the Spriggan, and the 3rd focus I give to Draigo. I'm hoping to get Draigo in with the Archidon and the Rhinodon he's engaged with. So I allocate the focus, and I'm still trying to decide what I'm going to do. Do I want to use Vlad for anything, or just make him a Signs of Portent bot? trying to decide, you know, see how far. I'm planning to use the Spriggan, the Maurader down at the bottom. I want to slam the Rhinodon. He's up there. I know I want to do his Grand Slam ability. So I use the one focus to stand up the Spriggan. Then Vlad goes. I'm going to cast Signs of Portents. Still trying to see how far I can see, you know, what my control range of affecting. So I'm eyeing a possible charge with my Berserker into Xerxis to try to jam him up, prevent him so he can't do much to me next turn. So I cast Signs of Portents and I declare my feat. With the Maurader down there at the bottom, I charged the far Rhinodon. What I really should have done was charge the Rhinodon, engage with the Spriggan, and slam him into the other Rhinodon or the Archidon to do extra damage. I'm just not thinking. All I'm seeing is slam and hoping to get a long enough slam here to knock down or kill some Paingivers. So I hit. I do a good slam. I only slam 3 inches, and he falls just short of doing any damage. So do a decent number a bit with about 20 slam. And from here, I go right to the Spriggan. Again, I forgot that the Spriggan can do has the bulldoze ability. Now I should have bulldozed the Rhinodon closer to the Archidon so I could engage both and start doing some damage, but in this case I forget about it, so I don't. I also forgot that the Rhinodon that I'm engaged with the Spriggan is been already damaged by the Great Bears, so I'm thinking I'm going to need all 3 attacks to kill him, and he goes down quite quickly. So now I have an extra attack. I just use the spear to stab the Extoller there. Now Draigo. My plan with Draigo was to move him up to engage the Archidon and the Rhinodon, so he could use his special ability to his mini Thresher and both beasts. But we're just short. We call an impartial third party in to make sure I don't leave the front arc of the Rhinodon, and we measure it out, and Draigo is just short of the Archidon. So I think I'm kind of screwed next turn because that Archidon is just free to go, do whatever he wants. And in no time, Draigo, through some amazing rolls, unfortunately you can't see him on the screen, just eats the Rhinodon, as Draigo does. That's his bread and butter. Him and Vlad are just awesome. So you can see some really good rolls, and the Rhinodon evaporates. So now my plan was to use the other 3 Berserkers and the top to damage the Rhinodons here. The 1 charges. I want to make sure he was in still side support and range. He doesn't kill the Rhinodon, but he does some pretty good damage. I think he takes out at least 1 body part. Then I use the other 2 to go after the Rhinodon in the corner, the low corner of the zone. Want to get him done, killed. It ends up taking both Berserkers to do it, but I end up killing 1 Rhinodon through some great rolls. Even though most people think that Berserkers aren't very good, but with Vlad and Signs of Portent, he makes some pretty good jacks. So now I've cleared out that Rhinodon. I charge this Berserker into Xerxis. I want to jam Xerxis up, so he has to at least focus on him, and he doesn't have free reign. I probably should have charged the Archidon with that Berserker. I just wasn't thinking. I was focused on Xerxis, knowing that he's such a powerful threat. And I do some pretty good damage to him. I think I do 11 points of damage to him, roll pretty good. And now I realize that Vlad's out in the open, so I move the Berserker to block line of sight, and I'm hoping for the best.
Alright. He did a fairly good job of wiping me out, wiping out a lot of my beasts. It's painful, but if it was just Berserkers on Rhinodons, I think I would have a good chance. Unfortunately, between the Spriggan and the Maurader, my caster is the only one that even has the potential for wiping them out, and I really don't want to get them that close. Draigo is still viable and on the table, so and of course I took that hit earlier from the one Berserker, so now it's a matter of I have to figure out a way to kill his caster, because I cannot survive another round. All those Berserkers in my face, they're going to just systematically just annihilate everything I have left. So I activate, so I end up cutting Zaadesh to fill him back up. He then charges the Berserker on the far side, and with tag team up, I just sit there just buying and boosting attacks. Gotta do what I can to kill him. You know, trying to hopefully hold that zone, contest that zone, make that zone an issue for my opponent. And you know, I put him bare. I nothing left in the tank for him. Nothing for transfers or anything else. Just but not enough to kill off the Berserker. I think the Berserker had like 3 boxes left or something crazy. So I activate the other Rhinodon. I turn him so he can actually see. I do one for a muck. I am able to see. I was able to get the one guy, you know, for sure, because he was within ½ inch, and the other one was too far away, so missed it by a hair. So it's okay. I was able to clear one. There's still 2 more in the zone. No backstrike bonuses because I was able to turn him once I paid for to shake off the knockdown on him. Now the other zone, the heavy zone, the zone that I have no idea what I'm going to do with all those Berserkers, all those jacks coming at me. So right now we're sitting there talking about where exactly the one guy was for placement purposes. I think it ends up to where we were off by like 1/4 of an inch, which in the end doesn't matter. But I was just trying to make sure we had, you know, we'd cleared the wall and everything else. So this is where we have our back and forth discussion. We're pointing a lot at the one jack where he's positioned and over, and so it doesn't matter. We end up, you know, wasted my clock down some because I was trying to do something. I just couldn't quite get it, but it didn't matter. It was kind of an argument for no reason. So now is the crafty time. Have to figure out how can I get back to kill his caster and still hopefully leave my caster alive if it happens to fail. But right now I'm locked in combat with a Berserker. So he advances up, but then I realize that doesn't make any difference, so I just advance over just a smidge to get where I'm front to front with him instead of hiding behind the wall. I pop my feet, and I drop 2 for mobility. And then I start my mount. My mount hits. Well, actually, no, I think that's the his initial. Yeah, it was for my beast. My mount. My mount knocked him down, so I just auto hit now. And I'm just rolling out damage. And I'll just keep on going until I just kill him because I need to. I do end up putting Lightning Strike up on my caster, so that way once I kill him I can back up, because I don't want to be that close if I fail to do what I'm about to do. So now that he's killed, I'm sitting on 1. I can't do much with it, so I end up Lightning Striking back quite a bit of distance. I guess a good thing for me is the fact that my feet is up, so that means that regardless of where the Archidon goes, I can still force him. He still counts as being in my control area. And he basically gets the ability to have an additional die on and I take out whichever one I don't want to keep on both rolls to hit and attack, hit and damage. So now here's the thing. Because Draigo had not locked the Archidon into combat, I advanced around his melee to clear his front arc, not engaging the Spriggan, and then I flew over the back half of his base, not taking a free strike from the other Berserker, and getting just within ½ inch of Vlad. I then get a crit, which once again means I get to throw him, and I opt to throw him into the objective. So regardless of whichever way he gets thrown, because I was within ½ inch, shouldn't have been able to be thrown any direction that would have got him out of melee with me. So that's the direction I chose to throw him. Because he did hit an obstacle, he does get the additional point of damage dice. I bind attack, and that's what it takes to kill him. I was able to roll high enough